Hi everybody, this is Ashley with Ashley Says So, and I am back with another old Hollywood scandal, and today we are going to talk about singer Bill Withers and his ferocious temper and his scandalous ways, and we are going to talk about the even more scandalous ways of the industry that allegedly tried to turn Bill Withers into an earlier version of what they alleged Diddy to be. Let's get to it after this disclaimer.
Everything in this video is alleged and is for entertainment purposes only. As you all know, I gather gossip and info from magazines, TVs, books, blogs, wherever I can find it. Also, please do your own research.
William Harrison Withers Jr., aka Bill Withers, was born on July the 4th, 1938 in Slab Fork, West Virginia. His mother's name was Maddie Galloway Withers, and his father's name was William Willie Harrison Withers Sr. And on top of Bill, the Withers had at least 2 more children. Now, Bill's childhood was a poor one, but he and his siblings still made things fun. Really, the only trouble that Bill came into was because he had a very severe stutter. In fact, his stutter was so bad that his family tried to help him by inventing ways to get rid of the stutter. The folks say that they would hit Bill in the face with a wet dish rag. Another method they came up with was busting Bill upside the head with the Bible. Literally. Unfortunately for the family, but not surprisingly, neither of these methods worked. So Bill had to continue suffering from this stuttering, and this eventually led to problems outside of the home. The neighborhood kids around him would of course make fun of Bill's stutter, and that was not the only reason they made fun of him. They also made fun of him because he had very light skin. But even though Bill Withers probably couldn't talk with the best of them, what he could do was sing with the best of them, because gossip claims that Bill Withers always had a very beautiful voice. And I really don't have to say this next part because you can hear it just by listening to his voice, but his voice was very much influenced by the church. In fact, Bill Withers probably had the most churchiest voice that ever walked this planet. And actually, his singing voice gave the boys another reason to hate Bill Withers, because it attracted all of the girls. But Bill Withers was a very shy and reserved boy, so actually the attention that he was getting from the girls scared him. As a matter of fact, it wasn't until 1956 when he joined the Navy that Bill started to become more self-assured of himself. And apparently this new self-assured thing was all he needed, because baby, the folks say after that, Bill Withers became the ultimate F-boy. The folks say that he started hanging with Johnny Mathis and some other high yellow boys and started getting cozy with some of the girls in the nightclubs they would visit. And one of these girls that he was getting cozy with had the last name of Brown. That's all anybody knows about this girl. Her last name was Brown, and Bill was seeing her all around town until she ended up pregnant. And as soon as she did, Bill Withers cut off all contact. The folks say Bill was changing numbers, changing addresses, changing anything he could to get away from this girl. He did not want her to locate him at all. He just wanted no parts of this baby. And so after Miss Brown tried to find Bill and she couldn't locate him, she stopped her search and decided to have and raise her baby on her own. And she named the child Ann Brown. And the funny part is, Bill Withers did all of this to get away from this child, not have nothing to do with this child, but then made songs about the child, talking about some her daddy and hope she'll be happier. Sir, get your tail on out of here. But maybe it's a good thing Bill felt some type of regret, because a lot of folks abandon kids, child, and don't even think twice about them. To move on with the story though, after Bill's time in the military, he didn't continue being a Rolling Stone. He actually settled down, got a job as a milkman first, and then he started working in a car factory. He started doing things like recording demos and dropping them off to local radio stations or dropping them off to record labels. But apparently everybody he was trying to work with felt like he was just a little bit too old, because Bill was around 29, 30 years old at this time, and they just felt like he wouldn't be a good fit for the type of music they were trying to push at the time. But Bill did what most successful people do, and that was he did not take no for an answer. He just kept on pushing, and also he started now singing at nightclubs, singing at small gigs, maybe at a party if somebody asked him to. And then in the year 1970, he finally found success when he was signed to Sussex Records. Now, Bill Withers did not have a hit song right off, but one day in the year 1971, he wrote a song called Ain't No Sunshine, went into the studio to record it, and then left and went to his factory job. A few weeks after Bill recorded this song, it was released to the public, and it was an absolute smash hit. All you heard was, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know. It was everywhere, and the public was excited. The record label was excited. The only person that was not excited for real was Bill Withers. Now, he was happy that his song was doing well, but it was like he could not believe his own success. As a matter of fact, he couldn't believe it so much that he refused to leave his job at the factory. Basically, he felt like even if the song was successful, that success was going to be short-lived. But soon that Ain't No Sunshine money started rolling in. Baby, those magazines started calling, wanting an interview with radio's newest star. And Bill finally felt comfortable enough to leave his regular job behind and dive headfirst into the music business. But the music business would prove to be a bit too much for Bill Withers. Before we get into that scandalous, twisted, hot mess though, let's get into Bill Withers' love life. Rumor has it by the year 1972, Bill Withers was dating actress Denise Nicholas. As a matter of fact, it was right around the time they appeared on the Mike Douglas show. It's alleged that's when they first started really talking. Well, once the public found out that two of their favorite celebrities were dating, everybody thought that Bill and Denise were the perfect match made in heaven. You know, they were both very gorgeous people. You know, they were smart, successful. But despite all of those great things, the couple were unfortunately more like a match made in hell. And that is because Bill Withers had some deep insecurity issues that he hadn't worked out. One of the first times his insecurity reared its ugly head was when Denise Nicholas was shooting a movie with Fred Williamson called N-Word Charlie. The folks say that Bill was firstly upset by the fact that Denise was starring in a movie that had the N-word in the title. And the second thing he had a problem with was when he found out that the movie would include a love scene between Denise Nicholas and Fred Williamson. And gossip claims when Bill found this out, Denise was actually in Arizona filming the movie. So Bill called her going off. So Denise, you think it's cool to be kissing and loving on another man? And Denise is like, who, Bill? Who? You know, what you talking about? I'm talking about that darn movie you in. You gonna be hugged up and kissing on Fred? And Denise is like, Bill, it's a movie. I'm an actress. Calm down. No. Everybody gonna think I'm a punk. Everybody gonna think I'm less of a man because my wife's sitting up there on screen messing with another man. Bill is just going off, baby. He is calling her every name in the book, accusing her of putting out and spreading that thing everywhere. And soon Denise Nicholas had finally had enough. And so she was like, you know, don't do me, sir. I'm not none of those things you just said. As a matter of fact, I don't like your tone. You're too jealous for me. So I don't ever want to see you again. But she did see Bill again. 5 hours later, he jumped off of a plane, knocked on her hotel door, and bust Denise upside the head when she opened the door. Honey, the folks say that Bill Withers was wearing her out, doing so much that Fred Williamson ended up overhearing it, and he came into the room. And some stories say that he punched Bill Withers in the back of the head, and other stories say that he just pulled Bill Withers off of Denise Nicholas. Whichever one is true, once Fred Williamson came into the room, the fight stopped, and Denise was actually sent to the hospital. Luckily, there was no real damage done, and Denise was able to resume filming just a few days later. Now, I'm not sure why or how Denise and Bill reconciled after this, but they did. As a matter of fact, not only did they reconcile, they started making wedding plans. Denise. And baby, you know, as soon as the other black celebrities heard about this upcoming wedding, they started talking cash money. Girl, you know he whooping her behind. Baby, I wish I would marry a man that put hands on me. But even though everybody was doing all of this talking, it was all behind Denise and Bill's back. And it just simply didn't matter much. You know, Denise loved Bill to death. And also she'd recently started helping him write his songs. So in her mind, you know, things were going to get better. But sadly, things just ended up getting worse. Bill was still insanely jealous. And not only that, it was like she could never do enough to please him. You know, it was always something, you know, Denise, it's good that you ain't going out and partying and hanging out and stuff, but the house ain't spotless like it need to be. Or, yeah, you helping me write the songs and I appreciate that, but you still taking on roles or considering movie roles that I don't agree with. He was just a very hard man to please, and Denise couldn't do anything right, but she kept on trying. Matter of fact, on their wedding day, Clarence Avant, who was one of their guests, came to see the gorgeous bride before she walked down the aisle. But when he walked into the room where Denise was, he found her crying. So Clarence asks her what's wrong, and Denise says, you know, Bill don't love me, Clarence. He don't love me. Bill do not love me. And so Clarence Avant was like, you know, if you feel like the man don't love you, why are y'all getting married? And Denise had no answer for him. So Clarence walks into the room with Bill Withers, and he tells Bill, Denise said that you don't love her. Well, if you don't love her, why are you marrying her? Baby said, Bill said, because I want everybody back home to see that I married one of these big time pretty actresses in Hollywood. That's why. Baby said he was so blunt with it that Clarence Avant didn't even know how to respond. He just kind of walked off shaking his head. And Bill and Denise did continue with the wedding and they got married. But even during their short-lived marriage, Bill would do stuff that a lot of people perceived as being disrespectful to Denise. Like very soon after he married her, he ended up doing some type of interview for Playboy magazine. And in the interview, he portrayed himself kind of like a single macho man, you know, that dealt with. He portrayed himself as kind of a single macho man, you know, that dealt with many women. You know, but sir, you just got married. And while he's doing interviews like that, Denise is simultaneously being booked for interviews, but in every interview she gives, she is talking about her husband, you know, her marriage, things that she's doing as a wife. And so it just wasn't a good look. As a matter of fact, the knowledge of Bill Withers' mistreatment of Denise was so widespread within the black celebrity community that some celebrities would bring it up straight to Bill's face. Rumor has it there was some show he was singing at, and Phyllis Hyman was also on the bill. Well, backstage, Phyllis allegedly says something that Bill didn't like. And whatever it was, he took it as disrespect. You know, because Bill Withers did not like no loud, self-assured woman. You know what I'm saying? He liked a woman that was very meek and mild. He was very traditional. And Phyllis Hyman just was not that girl. She was very fiery. She was a firecracker. And so Bill ended up saying something smart to her, and Phyllis snapped something smart right back. And so they were going at it for a while when suddenly Bill Withers allegedly starts walking up on Phyllis. And so Phyllis is immediately like, you know, what you gonna do, sucker? What you gonna do? You gonna try to beat me like you beat Denise? Child, the folks say Bill Withers was so shamed at Phyllis calling him out like that he let out some kind of yelp and ran away from the room. And honestly, a lot of this treatment that Denise was getting from Bill probably spawned from the problems that Bill was having with his music career, because Sussex Records was not paying him like they should have been. And not only that, Bill Withers was a highly defensive man, so he would take almost anything as disrespect. And he also was a very proud man, or should I say a proud black man. And when Sussex Records went down under in the year 1974 and Bill signed on with Columbia, his pride was a cause of conflict. Because straight out, the people who owned Columbia Records at the time did not respect black people at all, and they expected their black artists to do and be whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted. And Bill just wasn't that way. He took himself as well as his music very seriously. And so there was a lot of fight in Bill Withers. There was a lot of, no, I'm not doing that, because that's going to make me and my race look bad. And there was a lot of, no, I'm not doing that, because that's what you think black folks like, but I'm black and I know they'll like this. And Bill wouldn't bend. And then another thing the alleged elite or execs hated about Bill, they couldn't throw things at him to make him bend. They couldn't get him with sex and partying and stuff like that, because he didn't want to do all of that. He wasn't hankering for no pat on the head or to fit in the rich boy club. And the execs just did not like him. You know what I'm saying? He was just too uppity. He was too proud. And so they started to pick with him. They would do things like call Bill to come and meet them in their office, and then when Bill got there, the person that called the meeting would probably be flipping through a magazine and then looking and saying, "Whoo boy, that is one ugly igger. Looks like a baboon or a gorilla or something." Or they might walk past him in the hallway and say something like, "Ugh, all the iggers are ugly and stinking and they dumb." Just anything they could think of, anything they could say to try to get a rise out of Bill, to try to upset him and ruin his day. So Bill Withers was dealing with a lot of stress on the professional side of things. And like I said, I'm sure he was taking a lot of this home and possibly maybe taking it out on Denise. And by the end of 1974, Denise was done with this crap. And so she filed divorce papers, and she allegedly told anybody who would listen that Bill Withers was insecure and that he was a male chauvinist. And in response to these claims, Bill did an interview with Black Stars magazine, and he told them that if being a male chauvinist was what he had to do to make sure he wore the pants in his household, then hey, that's what he'll be. He's fine with that. So that was that. And even though Bill and Denise's marriage didn't end on a happy note, at least it was a clean split and everything was done. The same could not be said for Bill and the music industry. Columbia was allegedly doing everything I just told you they were doing, and also they were starting to hold back on what they were paying Bill with. And even though Bill recorded the song Lovely Day while he was with Columbia, things were just not good for him at all. Bill had been so prideful and so standing on his values that he ended up getting a target on his back. They allegedly tried to destroy them. Gossip claims they actually tried to pull a Diddy/R. Kelly situation on Bill Withers. But unlike Diddy and R. Kelly, Bill wasn't actually a nasty guy on the inside for real. So he didn't fall into their trap. And the reason I say all of this is because Bill Withers said it himself. Actually, he claimed, after he recorded the song Lovely Day, he was supposed to follow it up with recording Just the Two of Us. But every time he went to the studio, some woman would come prancing in there being all flirtatious, probably not wearing many clothes. But Bill never paid these women any mind. Well, the elites apparently felt like it was time to go heavy duty. And so now y'all about to have to read between the lines. So I'm gonna say they sent in a very young woman in there that was said to be around 4 or 5 o'clock. This woman had no clothes on, and the exec brought her into the room where Bill Withers was working on a song on the piano. Well, the young woman walked over to Bill, and she's like, "Can I play it too?" And Bill is like, "No, I'm sorry, you can't play. In fact, I'm focusing, so, can you leave?" Said the exec was standing at the door kind of like this, just looking at him, and when the little young woman came back over to the exec, he said, "Go on back over there to Uncle Bill. Tell Uncle Bill it's okay to play with you. That's all right." Said the young woman walked back over to Bill and was like, "Uncle Bill, you can tickle me if you want. You want to tickle me?" Baby Bill Withers said he jumped up off of that piano, grabbed his stuff, and left out of the studio, never to return. He said he was so disgusted that he never recorded at a studio with Columbia ever again. Even if he wanted to go back and record again, he developed a distrust of these people. Matter of fact, Bill didn't record again until the year 1980, when jazz musician Grover Washington Jr. asked Bill to sing on his record. That is the record that Bill Withers finally recorded the song Just the Two of Us on. After this, Bill Withers only did one more major recording, and that was in the year 1988 when he re-recorded his song Lovely Day. And then that was kind of it. He pretty much walked away completely from the music business. I mean, he did end up winning several awards over his lifetime. He may have performed at a few shows, but he mostly settled down to live a relatively normal life. And I have not mentioned her yet, but actually in the year 1976, he remarried a gorgeous lady by the name of Marsha Johnson. They ended up having 2 children, and I am sure their marriage wasn't perfect per se, and that Bill had to work on himself a lot. But whatever issues or problems they had, they worked through them all the way up until March 30th, 2020. And that is when Bill Withers passed away from heart complications at the age of 81 years old. And this is the end of the Old Hollywood Scandalous Tale of Mr. Bill Withers. I know the video was kind of short, but from what I saw in the books I read, this was really all he had. However, I have one more request from you guys. I am trying to hit 300K, so come on and subscribe. Also, like this video, and I will be back with another video soon. Bye.